Welcome back to the Business Building Rockstars Show. This is Nicole Holland, and this is episode 4. Today's episode is brought to you by my Master Your Mindset Challenge, where I walk you through Napoleon Hill's masterpiece, Think and Grow Rich. Published in 1937, the principles that Napoleon Hill teaches about how to bring great riches into your life through mastering your mindset hold as true today as they ever did. I developed the Master Your Mindset Challenge to ensure zero barrier to entry. Anybody who wants this information is free to receive it at no cost. Again, this is a free challenge. I even give you access to the PDF version of the book, help to keep you motivated and moving through the book with regular emails, a Facebook group, and journals for each one of the chapters to apply your learning. Want to join? Go ahead and visit bbrshow.com/challenge and sign up today. Today's guest is Jon Schumacher, and he and I talk about how to go from preparation to action and getting started with webinars. Now, if you've been in business online for any period of time, you've certainly heard the power and value of offering webinars, but there are so many questions that pop up when considering doing webinars. Not sure which tools to use, not sure how to get started. Well, Jon and I talk about that in this episode. Hey there, entrepreneur. This is Nicole Holland, and you're listening to the Business Building Rockstars Show. Today, I am hanging out with my pal, Jon Schumacher. And Jon is an online marketing coach and consultant that walked away from a healthcare career to pursue his dreams in helping his fellow authors, coaches, and online entrepreneurs create freedom and make a difference with their online businesses. Under Jon's tutelage, his clients have earned tens of thousands of dollars in product launch and webinar sales. Jon has hosted over 200 live webinars in the past 2 years, which is so incredible. And he's published over 600 videos. He's the #1 best-selling co-author of Hangouts Marketing Mastery. He's been featured or mentioned on large publications from the Huffington Post, Entrepreneur, Fox News, Goodman Project, and many others. And I'm so excited to have Jon with us here today on the Business Building Rockstar Show. And just before we get into the good stuff, I want to check in with Jon and ask him, are you ready to rock?
I am ready, Nicole. Let's do it.
Woohoo! Awesome. So why don't you give us a little bit more information about what you're up to now? Bring us up to speed.
Right. So as this interview goes live, I've really gotten into the webinar space, right? So I'm kind of like the beginner's webinar coach, right? But we just finished a webinar summit where it was 25 of the top webinar experts in the world giving some of their best content. So we've just finished that. We're now into hosting an online academy for webinars. So we're really focused on helping beginners master webinars, because we just feel like it's such a powerful medium to build know, like, and trust, to build a tribe, and to sell your products and services. My primary website is jonschumacher.com. Again, I have a lot of focus on webinars, webinar coaching, a lot of webinar tips, and those types of things. So that's kind of what I'm up to now.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. And you've had some incredible speakers on your summit, many of them who I've had as well. Navid Moazes, I believe, actually worked with you on the summit. Is that right?
Yeah, he helped. We went through his program, Virtual Summit Mastery. We'll give a shout out to Navid there. And it was a great program. It's very informative. He's got all kinds of stuff, everything from like swipe files to help you with your emails and how to structure your summits. So yeah, he was a big help, definitely.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely wish I would have had that before I did my summit. Yeah. Yes, Navid, up to good stuff. And yeah, very exciting. And I love like just the look, everything, the branding, everything you've done. And it's just gotten rave reviews. And I'm really excited to, we're recording it right before it goes live. This will be broadcast right after, but I'm really like looking forward to checking that out. Mm-hmm. So now you're in the online space, you've been an author, you're doing all these webinars. Did you always want to be this when you were growing up?
No, actually, and I know one of the questions was, what did I want to be when I grew up? And I was always a kid with kind of a crazy imagination. In kindergarten, they asked me that, and I said I wanted to be a lizard when I grew up. So I love dinosaurs. And they quickly put me in the corner of the room, right? Like where I spent a good portion of my younger years, in the corners or in detention a little bit. But no, I wasn't an entrepreneur. You know, my background is in healthcare, right? I was a physical therapist. I still am a licensed physical therapist. Jumped right into that, got burnt out of that career pretty quick, and then really started struggling online, trying to figure things out for about 2 or 3 years on the side, putting in long hours, taking courses and reading books and trying things over and over again without seemingly going anywhere. So it was a long journey for me. I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. That wasn't like my ambitions. I didn't have the lemonade stands or anything like that. I was really just a guy who wanted to get a solid career going, and I was obsessed with that at the time, but then just kind of burnt out and pivoted and have really found my passion, which is, you know, helping people share their message. I love marketing. I love webinars because I think like they're just a wonderful tool that you can use for so many things.
Nice. So, and how did you discover webinars?
Right. So I had a website called New Wave Healthcare, and that was in my niche. So I started a couple websites in the healthcare space, and that was a podcast. It was basically a Google Hangout live interview with entrepreneurs or startups in the healthcare space. And so that's how I started using Google Hangouts back in 2013 when they were still fairly new. There was no webinar jams or any software for those things at that time. It was just me embedding a Google Hangout on my website and then putting a opt-in page in front of it. And it worked pretty well. You know, I would repurpose that into iTunes and Stitcher and do all that kind of the whole podcast thing. And that's how I got into it. I learned the technology. I hired a coach. She taught me how to use it. And that's kind of how I got started doing Hangouts. And I did one live webinar a week for 50 weeks. I did that for 50 weeks straight in that industry before kind of just deciding that healthcare wasn't really where I wanted to stay. And then we pivoted into, I met my partner, Michael, and we pivoted into teaching Google Hangouts actually and live streaming. And that's kind of how we transitioned into kind of where we are today with more of the broader webinar market. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what was the deciding factor for you to leave healthcare? You said burnout. Can we talk a little bit about that? Just that experience of recognizing that you wanted to make a change and then figuring out what change exactly you wanted to make and how.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't happy anymore, right? I mean, I was servicing people one-on-one. I started reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad that really screwed my head up, right? And so I was like, oh, what am I doing working one-to-one, you know? So I kind of got negative on it. And that really is what kicked it off. But I didn't have a business background. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't have a following. I started in network marketing for a couple of years, of course, like many of us do, and doing the home meetings and bugging people at coffee shops. And, you know, that did okay, but, you know, wasn't the ultimate success, but it got me learning. It got me learning how to sell. It got me learning how to take a no, those type of things. And then, I mean, I just slowly started making my way along this journey, and it took a long time. It sucked. I mean, I literally was sitting up at night with one single light on in my living room, you know, reading, studying. And really what it was for me was I was just selfishly chasing my own freedom. I was just trying to find out a way to replace my income. I wasn't like being noble or having a noble cause or anything like that. But I think that's okay for some people, at least in the beginning. And that was really what pushed me. You know, it kept me going when I got frustrated and failed, is I would be persistent because I was just relentless in pursuing my own freedom and doing that. So I don't know if that answered your question, but
Absolutely. That's great. And, you know, my favorite book of all time is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I actually walk people through it in a free challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, what I learned from that and what I learned from other mentors and teachers is you have to be selfish. And this is what I teach as well. Like, we're conditioned to not brag. We're conditioned to complain about things not working. We're conditioned to not just stay here. And then when we decide we want something more, and when we decide that we want bigger and better for ourselves, we see that oftentimes because of our conditioning that it's a bad thing. And I just don't think that's true. Like, I think you got to get super selfish. You cannot achieve anything unless you get really selfish. And so, I think that's awesome. And Don't give it up. I mean, you're already a rock star, but don't think like, oh, okay, well now I don't have to be selfish. Absolutely, and I bet you've gotten more. I'm assuming you've gotten more selfish as time's gone on, and you've achieved higher and higher levels of success.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer on it's a balance, I think, for me. Like, because I do have an intention for more noble, more broader things that we're slowly starting to get towards now. But I am a big fan of putting myself on a pretty strict regimen. Like, I don't watch TV. I don't watch news. I have an RSS feed that feeds me like 10 minutes of news a day so I can keep up with the world. I think persistence and focus are really important. And if you're constantly getting distracted, then you're gonna have a hard time, right? I mean, it's just, you got to be somewhat selfish to a point to where you can block out things and really know what's important, but not so selfish, I think, that you lose your families and your friends and those type of things too. I think it is a balance, as well. But that's not easy.
The selfish part, I think, is important, of putting yourself in that place of, I want to honor myself and I want to congratulate myself and I'm doing stuff well. I don't have to downplay it. And I want to be happy. And I think that's the biggest thing. People talk about money or these big goals, but when you really boil it down, it's about peace and happiness and joy and living a life worth living, I guess, rather than material.
I think that, what is it, Tupac Chopra or Deepak, not Tupac. What am I saying? Deepak. I like that too, right? Tupac said this too. He's got all kinds of cool things. He probably said it too, but he said that the meaning of life is the expansion of happiness, right? And so finding your happiness, and your zen and your peace in this world, and then through that helping others and being, I think that's the meaning of life. The meaning, like, what was the saying? The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. Right. And so I think I like that quote too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now tell me about, you mentioned you got a coach. How did that happen? So you went through network marketing, you were learning a lot, you were struggling a lot. And at what point did it click and go, you know what, I'm going to get some help here?
Yeah, for me, it was, I just kind of tried to do everything on my own for a while. So, I mean, I had coaches in network marketing too that gave me books. And that's really where I got started reading so ferociously. Like I read like crazy now. And so I had mentors and coaches there. When I got into the next venture, I didn't know how to use Google Hangouts. I was like, oh crap. I was making a good living as a PT. So I wasn't like poor or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I have some money. Let me hire a coach. She's going to teach me. I paid her $300 for an hour, I think. And she taught me how to set it up and gave me some resources and stuff. So I'm a big believer in finding a coach, right? I mean, and it doesn't have to be, I know budgets are all different, right? It doesn't have to be the $10,000 guru, It could be somebody who's maybe just a few steps ahead of you that's charging not so much that you could hire to really help you. Because even just bouncing ideas off of a smart person, it makes such a big difference for you and your business and finding clarity and all of your goals. So whatever stage you're at out there, find somebody who's maybe a few steps ahead of you and see if they'll work with you. See if you can give them some value and, of course, see if you can get something. I mean, I have a guy I mentor for free, and I charge for people. That's because he helps me with some of my stuff. So he offered to help me with my social media stuff and manage me some of the stuff that I don't have as much time for. So there's ways to make it happen, but follow somebody who's more successful than you, and you're going to accelerate your growth fast.
Awesome. And I love what you just said, because I'm not one for bartering anymore. I've done it. And I know a lot of people do believe in bartering, and I am very much a collaborative person and I love giving and everything, but I haven't had the best experiences in my earlier days of bartering. So I just stopped that. I just decided not to do it. That said, when there's a will, there's a way. If somebody comes to me and they say, hey, can you work with me? And I don't have the money that you're asking, but here's what I do have. Here's how I can serve you. Like, I am always open to that, because they're coming from a place of exchange, and it's coming from them, because I would work with somebody who's motivated all day long. But when somebody comes to me and says, well, I don't have any money, so can you work something out? No, I can't, because you need to take ownership of your own destiny. You have a goal. If it's to work with me, then you need to figure out how that's going to happen. And then I'll just be somebody going along for the ride, because you make that decision. And I think that's how big things generally are done, is we make that decision. This is what I want, and I'm going to find a way to get to it, money or no money.
Yeah, and if anybody listening to this, if you're ever in a position where you're a few pegs ahead of somebody and they ask you that, it's your choice. Like Nicole said, it's your choice. On your free time is your gift, right? And it's up to you how much you want to give of that, and you shouldn't punish yourself or feel bad if you can't create that space in that moment. So just a note there. So just be respectful of those people if you're going to reach out to a coach. And if you are low on funds, I mean, really study them and look and see how you can contribute to them. And it may take some time, and they still may say no, but it's important to get out there and not just be in here, right? We have to get out there in the world, not just stay in here and think our own thoughts. We need to be sharing those thoughts with people we trust. We need to be finding others and networking with others in our industry, because that's really how you're going to get ahead, is people and the people around you. It's not just you and your brilliant mind and ideas. I think we all make that mistake at times. Yeah.
Absolutely. So speaking of mistakes, have there been any kind of doozies for you during this process? Was when you were like, okay, I think I've got a handle on things and I'm moving right along and I'm really excited about whatever's on the horizon. Was there anything you did where you're like, I wouldn't have done that if I could go back in time?
Yeah, boy. I mean, there's been probably a million of those. I had 2 failed websites before I actually had a kind of a brand that worked, that made money, but more than I spent, that kind of thing. So the ones that didn't make it, I think it's just that I didn't understand business and marketing. And marketing is so important, right? And branding and networking and finding partners. So I would say that focus on those things early. I don't really have a formula per se that worked. I just kind of kept going, and I just didn't stop. And although those last 2 failed, I finally found, with Hangouts That Convert, which was our brand that we started around Google Hangout training and webinar training in 2014, there was a real need for that. And so I would say this, here's a tip. Before you launch a website, a webinar, a product, make sure that you get lots and lots of feedback first. Do some market research. And what does that mean? Like for me, what I do now, like I'm just launching a new program, or actually if this is out now, I might have already launched it, where I'll actually write a summary. I'll talk to people on the phone, I'll survey our list, I'll poll the Facebook groups and stuff, gather up some of the biggest pains in that market, and then I'll usually write a summary of the key features of the offer, right? And I have like a sheet that I use that has 10 pieces of that offer that I fill in for everything now. And I share that with people that I know are in that market and ask them, what do you think? Is this compelling? Would you buy this? Would this help you? I think my biggest mistake as a on fire, crazy newbie was that I would get such an idea. I would get an idea and I would get so excited and I would just run out with it. And the website was already getting designed within the first week. And I didn't even know if people wanted it, And I think so knowing that what you have somebody wants, and like for everybody listening, take out a piece of paper, make 3 columns, put what you're passionate about, what you're good at, and what the market pays for, right? Or there has to be all 3 of those. You have to love what you do. You have to be good at it. And, you can learn skills too, but you have to be good at something. And then there has to honestly be a market. If you really want to create a business, just because you're passionate about something doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work, So you need all those elements. And I think because I had the first one, I was excited, but I didn't really know the others as well. So I think just to keep that in mind when you launch a site or a product or whatever.
Great points. And I think we can all relate to that, being excited and going for something. And something I've heard from a lot of clients has been things like, having this discussion about let's make sure people want it, I don't want to share about it because people will steal my idea.
Come on.
Have you heard that before?
Not too much anymore, but I'm sorry. That's not a reason not to share it. People are going to steal. Very rarely is someone going to steal your idea and go with it. And that's why you share it with people that you trust and like. Start with your inner circle first. Don't share it on Facebook right away or whatever, start with those that are close to you that, and preferably those that understand your market, not just people that don't. and say, hey, is this good? Is this compelling? What would you change? How is the hook strong enough? Is the USP strong enough? Is the guarantee really reinforcing the offer? Like, I mean, what are those pieces that make up, your offer, and does it work? Right. And so finding out those things first, and then you can broaden it out a little bit more. But I wouldn't, your ideas aren't so special that you have to hide them. I mean, I hear that once in a while, and it's like you are shooting yourself in the foot by not sharing with people that you are close to.
Yeah, people that also are going to give you useful and constructive feedback rather than a pat on the back or just criticism. Right. And I think too, there are no new ideas. Like we are all connected somehow, and even though we might be like, oh my gosh, I've got this idea, chances are somebody you don't know about has had the same one and has already done it. So it's like, just put your own spin and be authentic in it, right?
Yeah. And you want to have a unique hook and a unique brand, right? I mean, branding is important, having a unique angle on it. So it is important to look at the market and say, okay, what are my competitors, quote unquote, doing? If there are no competitors in that market, that might be a tough market for you to make money in, So you don't need to, reinvent the entire wheel, but you should have some unique angle or brand or story that is unique to you, that draws people to you, right? I mean, there's a great article called 1,000 True Fans out there that some people may have read. It talks about, building that circle, that inner circle, that 1,000 people that follow you, that love you, that buy your things. That's all we're really looking for the most part, is that just that core inner circle. And from that circle, everything will grow.
Beautiful. Great point. So you work with a partner. How did that come about?
Right. So Michael Bloom is my current partner with Hangouts that Converts, and we did the summit together and stuff. We're both in healthcare, right? I mean, he was a caregiver coach actually, and an author and a speaker and an advocate. He's a very talented man in the authorship, speaker. His organizational skills are top notch. He saw me on an interview. Like, I was doing these videos, right? So that's one of the powers of video and putting yourself out there, is he saw what I was doing in the healthcare space and was drawn to it. And at that time, there really wasn't anybody doing that, I mean, not much. That's probably why maybe it didn't work, because no one was doing it, like to our earlier point. But anyway, it still helped draw people to me. And so he was drawn to that, and I interviewed him for my live Hangout show that I was doing. And we slowly became friends, and we just decided to, kind of go in to work together. And, I guess we're kind of drawn together, and it's been a perfect balance in many ways. He's more of the detail-oriented person. He's more meticulous than I am. I'm more of like the charge ahead fast kind of person, and I kind of creating ideas, marketing. He's more of like the COO, I guess, if we had those roles, and I'm more of like the CMO kind of type of situation. So I think when you're looking at partners, make sure there's a synergy there, right? And make sure that you aren't the same person, or like my personality is a little more type A. He's more okay with that. Like, he's a big enough person that he's like, if I say something like, or I'm stressed out and I say something and that could piss other people off, he wouldn't get pissed off. So it works, right? Like, so make sure that the personalities match, your skill sets complement each other, because you don't need two of the same people, But it's been great having a partner. I mean, I grew up as a kid very shy and introverted. I'm still an introvert today. I don't really like crowds. It scares me to put myself out there. I still get nervous for webinars, although less than I used to. After
600 plus.
Yeah, 600 videos, 200 webinars. I mean, I still get nervous. And so your fear isn't going to go away. It gets better as you do things, right? But there's going to be the next step for you. And oh crap, now I'm afraid again, like doing a summit or something, with all these people and managing all these affiliates and, all these moving pieces and, new software and everything, trying to make all that work together so that it is a nice experience for people is stressful. So, but yeah, act in spite of fear. I think that's the key. I don't know that fear ever completely goes away.
Yeah. Awesome. And he's your partner for like an aspect of your business or all of your business?
Yeah. So JonSchumacher.com is mine. Hangouts that Convert, we share together, and the summit, we share together. So I work with one-on-one clients right now. I may do a group coaching thing in the near future, but so our product kind of side, we split. And then I do my own kind of consulting work mostly in the webinar space, Facebook advertising, some of the marketing funnels. But mainly I'm the beginner's webinar coach is the main thing. I have programs and frameworks that I've created to help beginners who have never done a webinar in their lives, like literally get it up and running in as little as 5 weeks, and get it out there and really understand the process. Because a webinar is a campaign. It's not a single event. It's a funnel. It's a campaign. That there's some pieces to that you need to have in place. And there's the beginner's level piece of simplicity, which I think if you try to give a beginner the most gnarly, crazy webinar funnel, they're going to crap their pants, So you need to you need to know enough to keep it simple and then build a better funnel afterwards. Like you don't just do a webinar and that's it. And you do the next new one. You like polish that one and improve it and try to build it out, So I think that's what I've kind of really nailed down is how to help beginners, particularly those that if you have a following and you are not using webinars, holy crap. Like, it's just, I definitely make a huge difference for
Very
a
cool
person. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that because webinars are so complex, but they can be really simple. And I think a lot of times with all of the messages about you need this and you need that, people do get caught up in the idea that, okay, it's going to take a long time or it's going to be really difficult. And so then they put it off when you can just help them make it really simple.
Sorry. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. And people watch the experts, right? So they'll watch the big time experts and they'll see how they do it and they try to duplicate that. And then they
from
get
the outside they're seeing. They're not seeing behind. They're seeing what it looks like out here, right?
And they're trying to duplicate that. And it's those people have teams and professionals and traffic people and content copywriters. And, for you, if you're just starting out and you want to do webinars, which I highly recommend you do, you need to keep it simpler at first and build from there. The basic thing is, do I have a product that a market wants to buy? Can I get someone from point A over here where they're in pain to point B where they're, delighted? Can I make that in your webinar? And I learned this from Adam Bansky, actually. The webinar is the gap between those, right? Between the pain and the delight. And can you create that gap? That's the only thing you should be really testing first. Like, not that you have retargeting on your thank you page to remind people about your webinar through Facebook advertising. Like that stuff you can learn later. But,
Thank you.
But so you got to start easier and you'll get better over time. But watching the major gurus out there who are doing it big time, and they're smart people, and all that stuff does help. But if you're looking at the 80-20 rule, like focus on the 20%, which is getting the technology up, knowing how a little bit of that works, the basics, not every piece, and then do I have an offer? Can I get signups and can I get a offer to an audience that wants it? That's the first things to test, So, the other stuff is additions,
Cool. So I just want to back it up a little bit, just back to the partner thing, because I think what happens a lot of times with entrepreneurs starting out or with entrepreneurs who've maybe gone into direct sales or MLM or who've started out and they're going, I want to do something, and they start and they think, okay, well, partner's going to make it a lot easier. And then they find out not always, usually not, if there's not that correct chemistry and that correct, organization. And so I love that you have an aspect of your business with a partner and you've kept an aspect yourself. And I was actually just talking to someone really recently who just dissolved a business that they put so much energy into because it was all with a partner. And I've done that too. I had a business that was with a partner. And when that partnership just wasn't working well, it was like, then the business is gone. And so I just really want to, just twist in a little bit more, because I don't think I don't hear people talking about this that much, as how can you recognize, okay, this could be a lot better if I share this with somebody and together we can do more. And at the same time, I still got to be me and I got to work on my own brand and moving forward with that. Do you have any tips about that?
About finding a partner or keeping
about
things
the
separate?
Balance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, I got lucky with Michael. I mean, we just, he's just an easygoing guy, and I'm more of like the type A probably than he is. So I got lucky, I guess. I didn't really have partnership failures and stuff, or I haven't, done that at all to this point. So as far as keeping it separate, I mean, it's a little bit extra work, but I would not, if you're doing consulting or coaching and that's in your business, I would not share that income like with a partner, because if you're the one out there recruiting it and you're the one bringing people in and closing them and getting them to work with you, I would not share that income, in my opinion. So we decided not to do that because, you know, if I'm out here doing this and he's not, then it's not fair to have to cut myself in half, especially for those one-on-one time and for your one-on-one time. I mean, for info product sales and things like that, I mean, I think it could make sense to have a partner if they're going to provide a certain skill. But, you know, just look at the pieces of your business and decide, you know, what are you good at and what do you need help with, right? So, like, you know, there's tech, right? There's copywriting, there's, you know, customer management and those type of things. There is, you know, traffic. There's, you know, some of these other pieces that make up a business. What are you good at? And if you're not good at all of them, which you probably aren't, you know, then you could find people that could maybe synergize, you know, with that piece. But I would just make a list of what your business needs, which a lot of newbies just don't know. I didn't know. I mean, I only just now kind of figured out, okay, what do I need? Like, I need something like this. We need to fill these gaps to make sure we're covered, you know? So I don't know.
So speaking of needs, if you could pick 3 must-have tools for people just starting out with webinars that they need to get started, what would they be?
Must-have tools. Yeah. So here's the thing on tools, and I was just actually doing a presentation on this. So webinar tools, I think, do I have time to maybe give a 5-minute answer? Is that cool?
Sure. Yeah, go for
it. So if we're choosing your tools, which is usually the first thing that hangs beginners up, right, is they get stuck on the tech. What do I do? I would say for software purposes, there's 3 things I would think about. Your audience size. I would think about the budget you have. And I would also think about the other tools that you have working with you, right? Because a webinar is a funnel, not a single thing. So you'll need to connect your email responders and all your other stuff together, right? So like for audience size, if you're starting out, it's probably okay to, you know, use something smaller, right? Certain software programs limit you to like 100 attendees for a certain amount of money or whatever, you know, like Zoom does, right? Or like crowdcast.io does. They limit you to like certain dollar amount for 100. So that might be fine to start with. But I would think about your audience size. And then for budget, I mean, you could start with something as little as Google Hangouts, which is free, you know, and embedding that on your site and using something like Chatwing, which is just a little software piece that you can put on your site and you have a webinar, you know, that could be a low cost way to start. Now, all the pieces aren't going to be there and you're going to miss out on a lot, but that's still a great low cost way to get started. You know, so something like that.
It's a free way to get started, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there is a free version of Chatwing.
Yeah,
I believe
that's what I use.
Okay, yeah. So that's a free way to just start hosting webinars. Now, of course, you're going to need a landing page in front of that. You're going to need how do you manage people behind the webinar? That's a whole nother factor. But I would do that. If you have a little bit more money, I would get something like Easy Webinar or Webinar Jam. I use Webinar Jam. It's like $400 a year. And it really has all of the pieces, like all of the landing pages, the email follow-ups. You can integrate it with your CRM, your email responder really easily. I can do more things like tagging based on when people dropped off and all this stuff. I have all the statistics, all the pop-ins, the polls, everything, you know, with something like that. And then, of course, more expensive versions like GoToWebinar, which are still a popular choice by people. If you have the money for it, it's still a stable kind of been there platform for a long time. Otherwise, you know, you don't need much. I have like an Audio-Technica ATR 2100. I got an Ethernet cord. I got like a little lighting kit over here. You know, that's it. And an Ethernet cord. And
Ethernet's important, right?
Yeah. I would be hardwired, right? You don't want to be on Wi-Fi if you can help that, because that can disrupt your signal and your bandwidth a little bit. And otherwise, it's really all you need. I mean, all you need is, I mean, I'm literally sitting here. I have a condo I own in California, and I'm just sitting here with the lights pointing at me with my laptop, and that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that, you know, this has been fantastic, and we could talk all day, but it's coming to the end. So let us know, you mentioned your website, but tell us again how you want people to connect with you.
Yeah, so you can go to jonschumacher.com. That's Jon. That's Jon, John without an H, Jon Schumacher, SCHUMACHER.com. I have tons of, I have a free 11 steps checklist on how to get started with webinars, and an email follow-up sequence too that really walks people through that whole guide over on my website. Yeah, I have another brand, hangoutsthatconvert.com. People can check out if they want to learn more about Google Hangouts and webinars. But yeah, my primary right now moving forward is jonschumacher.com, and that's where I'm going to be producing content and keeping up with people and doing all that stuff.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a blast, and I look forward to connecting again soon.
All right. Take care, Nicole. Thank you.
You too. Hey, thanks so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, I surely would love to hear about it. You can head over to bbrshow.com where you can get all of today's show notes and links to the resources, many resources that Jon and I discussed in this episode at bbrshow.com. And under those links, you'll find an opportunity to leave a comment. Let us know what you enjoyed. Let us know what golden nuggets you took from today's episode. And if you want to connect with Jon directly, you can head on over to his website, jonschumacher.com. If you haven't yet subscribed on iTunes, go ahead and do that now too. That way you won't miss a thing. We are broadcasting Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I am so stoked to bring you some of the most incredible and inspiring entrepreneurs to discuss their personal journeys and how they overcame the very challenges that you yourself are facing. You can also be sure to stay up to date with what's happening on the show by joining my email list at bbrshow.com. And as you heard, we both find Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill to be a valuable resource. And if you would like to go through that yourself with my guidance, make sure to visit bbrshow.com/challenge to join the Master Your Mindset Challenge for free so you can get access to Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich as a PDF for free and all of my guidance and support that goes along with it. Thanks again for tuning in. Love ya tons, and I look forward to talking with you again on episode 5, where Lynn Brunette of Find Your Groove with Lynn Brunette on Bold Radio Station, as we talk about how to set yourself up for business success and how to recognize your own personal calling. See you next time.